Hello again, and welcome back to another edition of Austin's American Flyer, where today we're going to do something somewhat common with a backstory. Today's going to be about bringing an engine that's defunct back to the rails, back to operation, and it's got a little bit of a different story with it. So before we get there, I wanted to do, again, a little bit of a backstory. On the shelf beside me here are three examples of some really, really great running engines. They all share a cast metal shell over the drivers, and at least two of these then also have the metal tenders. This one has plastic. And they're all kind of from the same genre, if you will, in terms of the style of the castings and whatnot. Very, very simple drive gear on the sides, not a lot of linkage. And they all share the ability to pull really well and run really well. So there's just some really cool things about we'll call it the 290 series. But behind us here is a 290, and according to Doyle, this was manufactured between 1949 and 1951. Has a link coupler on back, which you'd come to expect for that time frame. Sheet metal tender has the sheet metal trucks on it, and great smoker, great puller for not having any traction tires on it. Going up here to a 293, according to Doyle, these were made between 1954 and 1958. Has a knuckle coupler on the back, plastic tender as mentioned already. And there's something about the 293, the examples I have as well as others, they just smoke. So if you're someone that's interested in a lot of smoke, try to get your hands on a 293 because there's something about them. These also have pull more tires, which I don't know if you paid attention to the Christmas video that I posted with a very, very, very long passenger train full of silver, red, and green passenger cars. But that massive train, I think it's 16 cars, was all pulled by this. And know that those metal the silver cars were metal. So that was an incredibly heavy train. This thing walked with it. There's no problem. Then in front is a 295, and this is what we're going to focus on today. And a couple things that are, to me, interesting. The 295 was only made in 1951, 1 year. And so according to Doyle, it's a little bit on the rare side. So that's fascinating. It has the whistle, the horn inside the tender, which is unusual for a metal, sheet metal tender to have their whistle in it. Because this 295 had their air chime whistle, horn whistle, attempt at a whistle, because they had the air chime whistle in the tender, they added additional sliding pickups between the wheels in the tender trucks. That's also kind of unusual to find in a sheet metal tender. So one of the things that I thought was also worth noting is with Flyer numbering system, you can't count on the number order to be indicative of what order the engines came in or arrived from the production or from the facility in. So maybe not saying this very clearly, but in this case, as an example, we have a 290, which is the first from 49 to 51. And in theory, you'd think, okay, the next number in that sequence is 293, so that would be the next engine produced, right? No, that one didn't start till 54, but they slid in 295, which came in 1951. So that's just my point. When you're looking at engine numbers from Flyer, sometimes they go in order, but sometimes they don't. It's just something to keep in mind. So with that backstory, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the steps that were necessary to get this fella back up and running today on Austin's American Flyer. I am working on one of the engines that I brought back from the York show over a year ago. I'm finally getting to it. And this engine did not run, but the smoke was just super weak. In fact, it was so limp coming out of here that it was being drawn back into the chuff unit, which was pretty bizarre. I've never seen that. I mean, it was just so lax that was getting sucked back here. You can see how black it is. Again, I don't know if I could have salvaged it or not. I tried a couple different attempts. I tried to refresh the oil wick. I took the bottom cover off, added additional smoke fluid, and it was just barely anything. I couldn't hardly see it. So I'm going to replace the oil wick in this, or smoke wick in this. There we go. I think that's a little bit better. Now, this is wide open. Let's see if we get lower RPMs, but at least we got some smoke for a change versus whatever that pathetic excuse for smoke earlier was. Nice. So this is the transformer I've been using to run the outer two loops of my layout. And there's a lot to be said about this transformer and how fantastic it is. But I have found one downside. Check this out. So here's the 295 air chime whistle on the tender. Now if I throw my recently installed on-off switch, so for whatever reason, I'm assuming that this transformer is taking a digital signal and changing it to analog. Somehow in that process, there's an extra bit of, I don't know if it's, like a sine wave or what, that gets through, that on these old Flyer air chime whistles, they make a racket. This is not the first time that I've had an air chime on here that starts to squawk. So again, still really nice transformer. There's a lot that this can do, but the one downside is with American Flyer air chime. Well, thank you so much for sticking around with me today. I hope you found this fun, if not enjoyable, if not educational. Those are all good things. And please don't forget to leave a comment, to like, subscribe if you haven't done so already. There's some interesting things at the end of the video if you want to figure out how to get a hold of me, or if you're interested in merch, or even become a Patreon supporter. All of those would be appreciated very much. So until next time, take care of yourselves. God bless. Enjoy those American Flyer trains, and we'll see you. Bye-bye.